All right, how about show introduction? I understand.
Phil said, just watch out for that wily Danish. And I said, well, I'm Norwegian. I ate Danish for breakfast. I'm kidding with that one. No one wants to see the Danish get inquisitively northward again, right? Like, yeah, so. Oh, hi, diddly, hey! Neighborino, it's the Jimster, and you know what we're doing here. I assume you read the title card. We're gonna talk Metallica. Right. Why not? Get it over with, huh? And, yeah. So, let's make this as quick and dirty as possible. I assume you know how we do things here. If not, I'll run through it really quick. Jim gives equal weight to aesthetic as to music when reviewing an album, and also to impact, a 3-tier scale of music review for your musical reviewing enjoyment. And yeah, but in this case I have a caveat. I'm going to just absolutely dispense with the historical impact on Metallica, because let's not be stupid here. The historical impact of any Metallica album is a straight 10, like, just automatically. And there's nothing that can be done about that, so there's no point in even going over that. So I'm just going to run over my opinions on the music and the aesthetic presentation of the Metallica studio albums in subsequent order. And because there is absolutely nothing you can say about Metallica that hasn't been said to the point of utter redundancy, except for your opinions, I'm just gonna give mine on them, and let's jump right into it. So, quick backstory with them. I am an old motherfucker, and the older I get, the more that I just by osmosis pick up tidbits about the early days of Dave Mustaine, is the more I have a lot of respect for a young Dave. And I can empathize with Metallica on this score. At that one time when I was in a band, the drummer did kick all of our asses at once. So yeah, we have that in common with Metallica, and he has that in common with Dave Mustaine. And I do think that if they held on to him, that, I mean, it's Metallica, right? But I think it would have been a lot cooler, and this would have been a very different video. So anyway, yeah, I'm not going to discuss the demo or anything, because I haven't actually listened to it ever. But kill them all. So I'll give some context at the end of this video to explain some of this, but my opinions through Kill 'Em All. Music on this, I give it a 2 out of 10. I find it surprisingly tame. Honestly, even by the standards of the day. And the standout pieces to me are not even so much individual songs as I do like the Sweet Home Alabama part in Four Horsemen, and the Sweet Home Alabama part in Phantom Lord. And I think Seek and Destroy comes off a lot better in later live renditions. And yeah, that's that one. And that takes us into Ride the Lightning. And I was never particularly impressed with this album. I always regarded it as the weakest link in that first 4-album arc. Initially, I liked For Whom the Bell Tolls, and Creeping Death, and Call of Tulu. And today I still kind of like Creeping Death, and I do like Trapped Under Ice. Especially the opening riff, which I feel like I would love to crack a beer to. And I don't even like beer, but I would like to crack a beer to that opening riff, and then, then I'd be done with that album. So I give that one a 1 of 10 for enjoyment, because I just never come back to it, and I never thought as much of it anyways. And a 2 for 10 for aesthetic, because it is a lot better executed than Kill 'Em All, which is just a shitty cover even by 1983 standards. Just inexcusably so. And that actually ends, for the moment, my really controversial opinions. Now, a lot of people on YouTube they'll be like, I have this opinion and don't roast me in the comments, bro. And I just feel like that's utter poser shit. If you think that what I'm saying is just flat ludicrous or in other ways disagreeable, then by all means drop a comment saying whatever shit you feel like saying in there, and if it's clever enough or engaging enough, I might even come in and reply myself. But we're moving on to Master of Puppets now, and I do have to just stop talking shit for the sake of it. I feel like Lightning shows a band that is demonstrating capable songwriting, but has run out of Dave Mustaine's riffs. And the riffs just aren't that engaging to me. But on Puppets, the riffs are a little more engaging, stolen from more interesting sources, and put together in a more varied package. It just comes off in a much more mature album. Now, as to that little bit about stolen riffs, so there is, of course, the song Leper Messiah, which is straight out of Ziggy Stardust, but there's also that riff in Master of Puppets that if you ever just listen to that right next to Andy Warhol by David Bowie, you'll hear exactly where that riff comes from. And I've always thought that it's kind of interesting that for someone that barely knows David Bowie, there's these two huge glaring nods to Bowie right up in Master of Puppets. So someone that knows Bowie way better than I do should just go through the entire Metallica discography and suss out like every single one of them. Because maybe there's some like super obscure ones that I wouldn't pick out. And I've just never heard anyone mention that on any broader scale. So there you go. If you also are just hearing that one for the first time, you're welcome. Someone told me along the way when I was raising that concern that it's because of Kirk Hammett. He's the Bowie fan. I would have honestly predicted that from Cliff, but so be it. And I give this one a 4 for enjoyment and a 2 for aesthetic, because it's still a shitty cover. And I'm not backing down from that contention. But 4 is not a bad score for the music. So we're at Justice then. And this one I actually really do enjoy as an album. I think it is the best opening and the best closing of any Metallica albums. I gotta backtrack to Puppets for a second to note the first time I heard Puppets was on a dubbed cassette, and it cut out the first few seconds and the last few seconds, so that when I bought Master Puppets on a studio release or a label release for the first time, when I learned that it had a song beyond the because that part was just what was already playing when I don't play guitar, so fuck me for that one. I did that to you, but yeah. When the layered guitars come in, like that was when the album started, when I pressed play, and then when it ended, it was Damage Incorporated all the way through the third verse, and then at the third refrain, there's just the first blood from Blood Will Follow Blood. So it goes like verse and then blood and stop dead. And I didn't know better than that was just how the album ended. So I was kind of disappointed when I got the tape and it didn't end like that. And, you know what, Phil? I might be confused on that. It is possible that, that my studio release was chopped and when the guy lent it to me. That wouldn't make that much sense, though. I feel like it had to be that way. But wouldn't it be funnier if I got the studio release and it was like the fucked up version? So anyways, yeah. I had thought Master Puppets had a better ending than it turned out it did. And most people probably would disagree with that, but I like that choppy end that Justice has. And I really like that opening. I think that their acoustic openings just got better, 1, 2, 3, in that sequence. And okay, so I like pretty much every song on Justice. Some I've gotten a little more, so, but even ones that I've gotten tired of over years, I end up coming back to. So, and then the album cover, I do think, is the most excusable and most genuinely artistic and metal of anything they've got. So I rate this with a very strong 7 for enjoyment of the music, and probably a 6 for aesthetic. I could maybe go up to a 7 on it. I stand by Justice as like the one album that I love, and it's kind of interesting that I oftentimes really appreciate the bass in music, and I didn't even notice that there was no bass on this album for many years. Someone had to draw my attention to that, so that's how that one goes. But yeah, Justice is one of the Metallica albums that I do give a thumbs up to. And then we go into the Black Album, and I don't think a whole lot of it. So you've got your opinion about how something sounds, and then you can also have an objective opinion about what you're listening to. And I credit that Black Album demonstrates a really strong and competent radio band, and I also just don't enjoy it very much. Standout song to me is Don't Tread on Me and Through the Never. And I do think they could chop the sequence on this and make it a stronger album by taking out the last 2 songs and the acoustic song. You could make it a single if you really needed to. And flipping the sequence just so to make Of Wolf and Man the last song, because then you'd get that nice choppy ending. You wouldn't have those last 2 bloated songs. You wouldn't have that bloated acoustic song. And I'm going to forever think of it now as the Watain song in my head, just because, yeah. And maybe no one else would appreciate that mix, but now the aesthetic on this one, I like the idea, but it's such a basic bitch thing that they're executing with a fairly cool aesthetic that I just can't go very high on it. The portraits are actually really cool, but then done so much better by Slayer just a few years later, or at least so much more metal. So on an artistic scale, I would rank the Black Album as higher, but since it's just what it is, I favor the Slayer variant, and so I give it a 1 and 1 for the tunes and for the aesthetic, and that's Black Album. Now, I gotta drop a little context in at this point, so load. I was young enough at the time, and I, at that point, still was a self-described Metallica fan, and so I took load as personally as I think a lot of people did. So that whole fuck you part of the aesthetic that's going to come in with that score, I read it as a, well, fuck me, in that moment. But it did not take too many years for me to come around to these opinions, so that I've really thought this for like at least 20 years or more, that Load is way better than Black. Black Album wants to be Load, but does not quite make it. That the aesthetic fuck you of Load was actually a way better divergence from their previous work than Black Album was, but that if you were that put off by Load, you should have been put off by the Black Album. And yeah, so Load actually stands out to me as the other one that I stand by. Initially, I did not like it very much, but for whatever reason, I listened to it enough to get familiar with it, so that I know the songs from like 30 years worth of experience, and I have a varying experience with each of them, so that at the time I despised Hero of the Day, and I thought the video was just the dumbest thing ever, and it's totally a middle-aged man song, and so as a middle-aged man, I have a much different idea of it, and you know, a different flavor on it, and I give this one a 7 on enjoyment and an absolute 1 on aesthetic, because I do appreciate the aesthetic fuck you of it, but I've mentioned Metallica does shitty album covers, right? If you're gonna do like some artistic thing and just try to go to art house, like Andre Serrano, right? That is some basic bitch shit. That just says, hey, you know, yeah, we want to be arty, and we can't be bothered to like do a whole lot of like knowledge about being artistic or the art world or anything. So yeah, Andre Serrano, like Robert Mapplethorpe would have been such a better choice. And you know what? It doesn't even need to be one of those like controversial Jesse Helms Robert Mapplethorpes. Just like a genuine, actual Robert Mapplethorpe photo of like some leaves would have been as cool or cooler than, but I do give it a 1 because there's blood tangentially involved. So basic bitch shit though still. Andre Serrano, I'm sorry, just come on guys. And then some intervening context here. Between Load and Reload was the year that I met Big D, who figures into much more of my musical journeys after that, because the guy that lent me the Metallicas on the dubbed cassettes, he was more into like tabletop kind of shit or role-playing whatever than the metal side of it, and I was only interested in the metal side. So Big D and I we hit it off and went off underground ways, and crossover occurred once again via our good friend Varg, but that's neither here nor there. At the time, and mind you, we were like, 14, 15 at this era, he's championed Reload as the better half of Load, and I think I was still in that camp of maybe holding out some hope for anything. And so that was the perspective I approached Reload with. And initially I thought, well, Reload has some heavier stuff than Load, but that didn't last very long. I pretty quickly took Load to be the better half and assessed Reload as the songs reasonably left off of Load. And I do like some of the songs, but some of the songs feel like cheap versions of some of the songs on Load, and those are some of the better songs on Reload, because it's like, oh, well, here's the companion piece, like the one that goes I won't pick the guitar up again. Wasting My Hate has a companion song in Reload, and there's like a couple variants I've noticed. But I give Reload a 4 for enjoyment. It's as strong as puppets, but it's more bloated. You could make a puppets out of reload. To me, I mean, mind you, like everyone else is probably just thinking that's ludicrous, but yeah. Except there's just so much extra to reload. And aesthetic, I'm going down to a 0 because I do like the idea of reload, like nothing wrong with the title part of it, as much as just the cover is stupid, and if it is what I think it is, then it's just Metallica stupid and extra juvenile, and I'm not into the prurient cunning stunts humor, so that's Reload. And that takes us to the Symphony album, which is, okay, so my last real interaction with Metallica, honestly, comes in at this point, and I do, over the years, at the time and ever since, think No Leaf Clover is a really good song. And with all of the years now dissociated from Metallica, I could dare say, I just feel like an outsider could easily see their entire career as building up to that song. And if you were going to remember them for one song, then that could easily be the Metallica song. Because, I mean, there's people that know Aretha Franklin for like one or two songs, right? And that's how history compresses things. So, that aside, and granting that song can exist in the context of the symphony was where I tuned out. I said, you know what, I'm just done hoping for anything from this. Like, the last two albums suck, and by this point I think I was already thinking, Black's not as good as Load anyway, so what do you want from this band? And also by this point, I mean, I'd heard enough other heavy metal where I was like, it's all pretty tame stuff compared to your Slayer, just to start with. So, there you go with that. And Big D and myself, our initial bonding point was we were like 13 years old, and we both described Metallica as our favorite band. I was 14, I think. But by the time we got to the Symphony album, we just, independently of each other, at about the exact same time, both decided we were going to shift that coveted allegiance to a different thing and just move on with our lives from here. And he went with Testament, and I went with Slayer, and that has its own attendant ramifications, which provokes interesting conversations we can get to at future times. But yeah, I was done with it. Then, and from there, we get into an era where I'm going to start with my back history on Metallica to give a little context why I think what I do about the earlier albums, and then what with the later albums. So, I am older than dirt, but I'm not as old as Metallica, and the first I heard of them was in 1993 on a dubbed cassette of the Black Album from this friend in middle school, because I come from Seattle, and 1993, you're not too far divorced from the 1960s. I'm pretty sure that 1993 is closer to 1960 anything than it is to today, so 1960s is the jet revolution. Before the 1960s, and really before the 1990s, before like the year 2000, Seattle was a fucking backwater, because it's way far from anywhere. It's not easy to get to in any fashion, except an airplane, because you're like 800 miles north of anything in California, and you're 800 miles east of like a fucking Billings even, so and there's mountain ranges between all of you, so a lot of stuff didn't get our way, and there's cultural impact too. You may or may not be familiar with what was happening in Seattle in the early 90s, but heavy metal was just something that was excessively quashed down. You had to be like really digging, and it helped to know people to get any good info on heavy metal. I listened to Iron Maiden in 1995 in Seattle, and I can assure you, it was not fashionable in any sense of the word to just about anybody, at least in the city. Somewhere out there in the world was Finn McKenty, and he probably thought I was a dork too if he knew that I listened to Iron Maiden. But he lived in a fucking suburb, so I thought he was a fucking loser. And where is he now, huh? And where are we at with this anyway? Oh, thank you. So I heard Metallica in this order. First Black Album on a dubbed cassette, then Master Puppets on a dubbed cassette with the chopped off ending. And then I bought Justice and Puppets, and then Lightning, and then I heard Kill 'Em All. And then I heard Load, and then Reload. And then I heard Enough. But there's more, so whilst I can't say anything about the music, I'm going to say something about the general aesthetic and just what I thought of it in the intervening years. Saint Anger, I think, is the first one that I know absolutely nothing about. Is there an Unforgiven 3 or 4 on that one? Or did that come in subsequent albums? I'm pretty sure I've heard about it. But, you can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Symphony album, and then, oh, there was the Garage album, I suppose. That should be the name of this video, Garage Incorporated. But Saint Anger, and I remember it being infamous, but I just didn't care. So there was this big controversy, and then there was the movie, and I was just following other things by that point. And then there was Death Magnetic, and that one people were super excited about. And people that I just did not expect to be excited about it were excited about it. And I think Big D might have been excited about it. I don't want to speak for him on that one. But, good Lord, like, I feel like just as I felt in 1995, I am the only person in the North American continent who appreciates Iron Maiden. I swear I must be the only person in the North American continent, or at least amongst a very small minority, who is into metal and just could not care less about Death Magnetic. So, I feel like the album cover on Saint Anger, if it was not a Metallica album, that could be an interesting piece of art on its own merits. So I could maybe give it a 3 for aesthetic, but I'd have to go pretty low in general because Saint Anger sounds like a stupid title to me. And one time I did hear the title song, and my reaction was essentially like, okay, I'm not sure I understand what the deal is with the drums, and then, oh dear Jesus Christ, like when the song drops and just, oh dear God. It was horrifying. So if I heard any of the album, I assume I'd give it a 0. And Death Magnetic, I do like their traditional logo, I give it that, but I can't give anything above a 1 at most to the aesthetic on that one. It's just unimpressive and dumb and basic bitch, and yeah, like Death Magnetic, and so what, a coffin with... So Mike G, who ran Metal Maniacs during the worst years of that magazine's existence, said of Satyr Onegraven that he's like James Hetfield in this way, that they are both guys who speak with their riffs, and the lyrics are just kind of an afterthought, more designed to strap you in for the ride, which I thought was a really good piece of literary journalism. But it maybe says a lot about Metallica's aesthetic presentation. Their album covers just fucking suck. They just do. Justice was pretty cool, but they got lucky with that one. And, so that takes us to 2012. Now, I have always had radio in the background, so I listened to a lot of radio. but primarily AM radio. Well, this one time in like 2012, I turned the radio on to the FM station, KISW, Seattle Rock Station, and then I walked away. And I walked back in a little while later, and I heard this song playing, and I was like, well, why do I know this song? Why did this song I've never heard sound so familiar? Well, I realized after a few minutes that maybe a minute, maybe 30 seconds, I don't know, but a long amount of time I stood there just pondering on it, because it did really like cause me to wonder. And then I realized that I was listening to James Hetfield sing, and it was a Metallica song that I'd never heard. And at that moment I realized there's 2 full studio albums of Metallica that I've just never heard, and probably never will. I hadn't even heard Satanger by that point, the song, so yeah, and I walked away and just thought that was a kind of an interesting fact. And since then, there's, 2 or 3 more now. Because Big D did play me just a snippet of the one with Lou Reed. And I remember thinking, if the entire album sounds like this, or maybe I heard a whole bunch of the album and it just all sounded roughly the same, but it sounded impressively awful. And so for aesthetic, I almost want to give that one a fairly high score, just because, like, as a sheer fuck you, we're like the biggest band in metal, and we're just doing this horrible, awful thing that only Lou Reed would think to do as like an actual record. Otherwise, like, that's some balls out moves, but I couldn't give that anything on the aesthetic because cover's god awful. Like, what are they even thinking? I'm sure a lot of people are like, what were they thinking with that all around? But I assume by that point they were just thinking, shit, we could set this pile of money on fire and record that too. So what do we got here? I almost feel like I remember, because I had to look at this just to count them. I was like, how many albums have I not heard? So Death Magnetic and Saint Anger, and there is a yellow one. Oh! But the Suspiria cover, Jesus Christ, what's that one called? Hardwired to Self-Destruct. I hate everything about it. I just remember being in a Silver Platters one day when I was back in Seattle and buying some albums, and I just picked that up and looked at it, and I thought, now even for Metallica, that is an impressively awful cover. And I barely remember what the buzz was around that one. I feel like people were saying, you can come back, you can still do it. Which made me think, did they not do it with Death Magnetic? Were you disappointed with that? Did I call that? Oh! Where's my cheap plastic mic? Phil told me to stop using this, but you know what? This is why this thing is great, because who called that Death Magnetic was going to not be that impressive? One more time. Thank you. So yeah, there you go. Now, last little note on this, because this is honestly more time than I've ever really felt like investing in Metallica, but whatever. This was funny. So, way many years after I thought we both established that we didn't give a fuck, I meant it. I thought, you know, people come in all sorts, right? There's every kind of, people fill every possible niche of availability that people can fill. Like, every potential of humanity is filled by some human somewhere. But when I say something, it's because I fucking mean it, right? Like I said in, 1997 or 1998? I'm done with Metallica. I just don't fucking care. And I haven't cared for goddamn near 30 years. And that's just it. Like, I legit don't care. I don't dislike Metallica. I just don't care. So I haven't listened to anything they've done in almost 30 years. And I appreciate the stuff that I have heard on the individual merits of how much I appreciate it. But Yeah, I wasn't holding out any hope for any of it. I never wanted them to come back. I was like, well, a lot of that older stuff wasn't that impressive in retrospect to me. So if you want them to come back, good on you. But anyway, the point of all this is I got this here, and I make mixtapes out of my CDs so that I can listen to the tunes in the car when the kids aren't in the car. And I got this Akrakaki mixtape, and I needed some extra because there's that song on Words That Go Unspoken that's like 10 minutes long, and there was a couple extra songs I wanted to slot in, so I just reached for a tape. Fun fact: you can dub over studio tapes. Just put some something to block that thing in there, and yeah, you can press over. So this is the Creeping Death single, and Creeping Death is actually the song that I like from the Lightning Right. But yeah, this is the original Garage Days revisited, and I showed this to Darren one day, just mentioning offhandedly that I used Garage Days re-revisited, dubbed over it to make a Tea Time with the Cocky, and he seemed put out by it, and I was like, maybe if you wanted it, I would have offered it to you, but I had just assumed, like, that like myself, you didn't care that much. So, there we go. But, yeah, I thought that was kind of humorous that he was that put out by it. I mean, he wasn't greatly put out by it, I don't think, but, he seemed visibly irritated, and I just was like, whatever, dude, like, it's fucking Metallica. I don't even know exactly why I had the tape or how long I had it, but I picked it up somewhere along the way and was just like, I could totally dub over that when I need 20 minutes of song time, and that's exactly what I did with it. And that is Jim's opinion of Metallica. So, if you stayed with us all the way through this TED Talk on the TALLICA, then well, thank you. Feel free to hit the dislike button or the like button as applicable. But either way, I'm Jim Dempsey with my man Phil on the graphics, and thank you for joining us. Lord willing, I'll be back with some more. But in the meantime, Dempsey's about to dips.